Hey guys, I was offered a really interesting opportunity / challenge related to my activities with Parks on the Air. Now, for those of you who just went, huh? Parks on the Air is a ham radio game, let's call it, that encourages people who are able to take their radios, go out and operate portable, specifically from a state or national park. You set up shop there and become what's known as the activator, start calling CQ, and people who are known as hunters start answering you. And then the game, as you might expect, is as the activator to get as many QSOs as you can while you're sitting at the park. And then for the hunters, it's to contact as many parks as possible. The whole thing is explained in the points track on the Parks on the Air website. So if you're not familiar with POTA, as it's known, get thee to parksontheair.com and get yourself edumacated, because it's one of the most fun things going on in ham radio right now. I do both, hunting and activation of parks, and that is what is in this little black bag right here, is what I call my bare minimum kit for going out and doing a park activation. It's stripped down to bare minimum and in this tiny little bag because you guys know me, I can't do anything the easy way. I figure if I'm going portable, I might as well have some fun while I'm doing it. So my mode of transport is this thing. This is a Kawasaki Ninja 300. It is the absolute baby of the Kawasaki Ninja family. As you might expect, that means that space and therefore power are at a real premium. So my bare minimum kit is really that. Here's the logging apparatus. Here's the power. Here's the entire toolkit. Of course, there's a bit of coax, which leaves what I've been using as an antenna. It's really two pieces. This right here, this is the antenna. There's not much to it. This is a 9-to-1 un transformer and a 34 and change foot piece of quote unquote random wire, which is a silly name because it's pretty carefully selected length. A couple of you are going, wait, NFEDs need a counterpoise. I refer you to the aforementioned piece of coax. I don't have a dedicated counterpoise. I just used the shield of the coax for that. This last doohickey is my antenna launcher. It's about 100 feet of rope with a soft weight on the end of it that I can do my David and Goliath routine and get over the nearest tree branch. As a kit, it works well. It's nearly bulletproof. It takes mere moments to deploy, and it packs down into this 10-liter motorcycle tail bag with room to spare for water, bug spray, and maybe even a sandwich. But as you might expect, with a bare minimum approach to the kit, I got a number of limitations. I've got a lot of compromises. There's things that I just simply can't do or don't work well in the name of size and weight. By far, the #1 challenge is just effective radiated power. I'm starting with a QRP radio, the KX2. Under ideal conditions, we'll put out 12 watts, but nominally, we're really talking 10 at best. And we have to run that through the tuner built into the radio, and then through this un-un, and then into a non-resonant wire using this as a ground. What is the loss in all of that? I didn't do the math, but casual estimates say it could be upwards of 2 to 3 dB. In other words, half the power that radio puts out turns into heat or goes into the ground or something like that, as opposed to, off to a QSO. The other antenna problem I have is my deployment methodology. See, throwing a weighted rope over a tall tree branch is normally fine here in Western PA in the state park system. But your mileage is going to vary a lot. You get into other states, you get into other regions where they have different ideas, or heaven help you, you get into the national park system, and all bets are off what the rangers are going to be okay with when it comes to pummeling their trees. I haven't had a lot of trouble with it, but the bottom line is, if for some reason I can't use that rope to deploy this wire, I don't have an antenna. So to solve both of those antenna problems, I'm going to turn where else but to a DX Commander. Callum was nice enough to say, hey, I think the Expedition model is small enough that you could get it on that tiny bike of yours, so why don't you give it a shot? Well, here it is, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. There's two bits of secret sauce to the Expedition model. The most notable one is the pole. This thing I think is 18 sections instead of the 10 that the standard pole is. So it collapses down to, it's 2 feet plus or minus, significantly smaller than the original pole. And it's no heavier either. The trade-off there is that sum total of the pole is not nearly as sturdy as the original one. This is definitely for temporary use only. Like all good DX Commanders, it comes with aluminum plates for driven and ground elements. They're funky shapes that are smaller and lighter than the originals. I don't know that it makes a statistically significant difference, but they are cool looking. And likewise, some plastic separator and guy plates. I used my guy plate as a winder for the guy ropes. That works out pretty well. And my top guy plate has one stretchy cord on it for my 20-meter element, and the 40 just goes up through it. Speaking of elements, here they are. I've only cut 20 and 40 at the moment because, quite frankly, that's all you need for Parks on the Air. It's handy to have 15, or at least it will be when that band opens up. And I'm probably gonna make a 30-meter element as my third one. More on that in a second. And of course, radials. I conserved my precious DX10 for driven elements and went back to the speaker wire for radials. There's 3 bundles of 6 that are short-ish, and 1 bundle of 4 that are long-ish. We'll see if this one makes the cut. So the initial impressions are, holy crap, ultra portable is a relative term. This thing is way more portable than a DX Commander original, but it looks like a giant pile of stuff compared to my little super sleek random wire here. But remember, one of the problems I'm trying to solve is, what if I can't use a tree? The pole might be needed even with this antenna over here. So that actually is going to slide over here and become part of the base kit. This is really, I think, what we're comparing. When you look at it like this, the Commander is still a bigger pile, but I think this much more stuff and weight is well worth taking a shot at getting those 2 or 3 decibels back. Having said that, clearly the 10-liter tail bag is out. We're gonna have to step up to the 20-liter tail bag. Quite frankly, hey, Krieg, if you're listening, make a 15 for the love of God. Anywho, we're gonna have a lot of extra room at this point, so let's go ahead and solve a couple of other problems. We've got some extra space, so let's change this battery into these 2 batteries and double our power capacity. And logging on paper is okay, but having a tablet is gonna give me a whole lot more functionality and save me from having to transfer QSOs when I get home. If I have a computer, all I have to add is this little bundle of wires, and now I can not only have automatic communication between the tablet and the radio, but I can run digital modes. Hence, I'm thinking about the 30-meter band element. And a tablet really ought to be in a case. I know, quit yakking and get packing. If we can fit all this in that bag, we're home free. Since space is a non-issue, all the radials are going. The long ones will be nice to have on 40 meters, whether they're necessary or not. And I'm being pretty careful about the order I put stuff in here, like making sure the tablet is on top, but that's more about how it's gonna ride on the bike than being able to get it in the bag. There is plenty of room in here. Well, the gear all fit, no problem. In fact, there's still room for my water bottle, my bug spray, and maybe even my sandwich in here. All that's left is the pole. So let's strap it on the bike and see if we can make that work. Now, these bags are designed to sit where your passenger would sit on what's known as the pillion seat. So weight is not really an issue. Well, I guess depending on who your passenger is. These bags go on with 4 corner straps that are all anchored to the bike. I've got these 2 on right now. There are loops on the bag that I could use to strap the pole on this way, but I think it sticks out too far. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna go crosswise with it. And I'll bring the other 2 straps that secure the bag over top of the pole. The protective bag for the pole is almost a must. I've got the threaded cap facing forward. The bag is on and it's tied with a knot at the end. The bag is considerably grippier than the pole itself is, and it's just one more level of containment should something happen out on the road. Well, the radio gear's on. Let's get some gear on me, go see what's happening at the local park. Precious few differences setting up the Expedition model versus an original DX Commander. Plates mount to the bottom of the pole the same way. The only difference is that you're going to find the wing nut on the driven plate is kind of fussy because it just barely clears the fat part of the pole. The pole itself is not nearly as strong as the original DX Commander. It's not flimsy per se, but it's not going to put up with mistakes like the original one will. The plastic plates slide on, and I didn't find that any additional hose clamps were necessary. The 40-meter element goes up to the top of the pole and back down, but on this pole there's no eyelet to run it through. Cal gives you these little pieces of aquarium tubing to solve that problem, which I of course lost immediately. Fortunately, black tape is a good solution not only for this, but you can use it further down the pole if you need to reinforce against collapsing. The pole's plenty stable with its 3 guy ropes and stakes, but I decided to lash mine to the picnic table because it's faster, only takes 1 rope, it's even more secure, and it's less of a tripping hazard. And you've seen one radial, you've seen them all. Kilo Delta 9, Hotel Victor Tango. You are a 5-9 into Kilo 1387 on the new antenna. Thank you very much.
We're quite welcome. You're 5757 into Indiana. 9, Alpha Victor.
Whiskey 9, Alpha Victor, you are good strong, 5-9, 5x9 here into Kilo 1387. QSL?
QSL, you are also 5-9, Wisconsin, thanks.
So what's the verdict on the new kit? Well, the DX Commander, of course, works flawlessly. It's quarter-wave vertical. What could go wrong? Couldn't be happier with the signal reports I was getting, with the ease of setting it up and taking it down. It really does an excellent job of solving both of the problems that I have with the end-fed random wire. Downsides, well, of course, it's bigger and heavier. Now, if I'm going out specifically to do a park activation, which I would say is 90% of the time I'm doing an activation, then it's kind of a non-issue. It doesn't really matter which tailbag is on the back of the bike. That other 10% of the time is when I'm primarily going for a ride with friends and I'm just kind of hoping that we can hit a park along the way. In those cases, I'm probably going to take the smaller bag. I'm probably still going to take the end-fed, only because we lots of times stop other places. I end up having to carry the gear with me. I don't want to carry all this around walking through some donut shop. And then of course there's the setup time. I suppose if you compare apples to apples and say, I got to use the pole for the end fed, then a lot of that delta kind of goes away. But in the cases where I can get the end fed up using the rope and a tree, it's a 3-minute operation. I'm on the air with the end fed. The DX Commander is, I don't know, 10 minutes, something like that. If all goes well, could be 15. It's just going to depend. It's significantly longer than the end fed with a tree, but in absolute terms, it's not a long time. It's not going to take you hours to set this thing up and tear it down. Of course, there's a whole other angle to this, which is that motorcycle season is coming to an end. Here we are at the end of September. It's going to be cold real soon and have that slippery stuff out on the roads. Park activation is going to move from the bike to the van. In the van, this is a slam dunk because in the van, this thing goes away and gets replaced by this. That's an FT100, as in a 100-watt radio. I bought this used and it came with an antenna tuner, but obviously if I can just wire right around it into a resonant antenna and I got plenty of room and power, the DX Commander is a slam dunk. There is absolutely no reason to even consider the end-fed wire when I'm not on the bike. Questions or comments, leave them down below. While you're there, do some button mashing. If nothing else, it's fun to mess with our Google overlords. Again, get thee to the parksontheair.com website. Learn all about that program. It is a pile of fun. Next up is the Woodworkers Fighting Cancer build, and after that, we're going to get into Christmas lights again. So stick around, guys. It's going to be a fun ride.